Good morning, everyone. So let's start with the new topic today. That is what? Outbreeding devices. It is also included in pre-fertilization structures and events topic only, right? We have already completed pollination topic. Fine. So now let's start with some natural devices which occurs in the plants. That is nothing but outbreeding devices. So before starting with the outbreeding devices, we should understand the meaning of inbreeding depression, right? We have already learned about this particular term in our previous lectures, right? Now also we are going to discuss about this inbreeding depression term, right? So as we have discussed the pollination topic, in which there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower, right? Of the same plant or of the two different plants. That is nothing but pollination. In that only we have learned about autogamy, geitonogamy, xenogamy, right? Fine. So in case of inbreeding depression, what happens is that if there is continued or you can say repeated self-pollination, right? If continued or repeated self-pollination occurs in a flower, it will lead to a condition known as inbreeding depression, in which there will be less variation, or you can say no variations are seen. Since in self-pollination there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, right? So obviously, and of the same plant, obviously. So in that condition, what will happen? Diversity will be less, right? So less diversity will be seen in case of such flowers, such plants, right? So it will lead to a condition known as inbreeding depression. So in case of such flowers or such plants, we need to what? Encourage the cross-pollination and prevent the self-pollination. So let's start with some points in this particular outbreeding devices. So this outbreeding devices is basically occurs in the plants to encourage the cross-pollination and to prevent the self-pollination, right? Outbreeding devices are such that it prevents the what? Self-pollination, but encourage, or you can say promote the cross-pollination. Fine. So let's see the description about this particular topic. First of all, hermaphrodite flowers. What do you mean by these hermaphrodite flowers? Is that such flowers contains both male as well as female reproductive organ in its structure, right? So hermaphrodite flowers, or you can also say bisexual flower, it can undergo autogamy or self-pollination, obviously, because the pollen grain from the anther transfers to the stigma of the same flower. So in that condition, that is nothing but your autogamy or the self-pollination. Genetically, functionally, it is acting as what? Self-pollination. So in that, what can happen? Inbreeding depression, which leads to less variations, less genetic diversities. Also, the species might get extinct in the near future if there is continued what? Self-pollination. Fine. So that is why naturally plants have developed some devices in them to prevent the self-pollination or autogamy, so that it can encourage the what? Or promote the cross-pollination. Next point, as we have already discussed about this inbreeding depression, continued repeatedly self-pollination can result into inbreeding depression that needs to be avoided or prevented. So there are some devices in plants in which cross-pollination is encouraged, fine, and autogamy or the self-pollination is prevented by the devices known as what? Outbreeding devices. Next, so there are certain points through which we can or plants can what? encourage the cross-pollination and prevent the self-pollination. The first point is about the avoiding synchronization, right? Avoiding what? Synchronization. Avoiding synchronization in the sense what? The pollen should not be actually, right? What you can say, release before the stigma gets receptive, right? So the pollen is released before the stigma becomes receptive, or you can say stigma becomes receptive before the pollen grain releases from the anther, right? Because if they are in sync or they are matched, so obviously self-pollination could result, but plants need to what? Avoid the self-pollination. So that's why this point says that if the stigma is not receptive before the pollen grain is released, or you can say stigma becomes receptive before the pollen grain is released, right? So avoiding synchronization could promote the what? Cross-pollination, but inhibit the self-pollination, right? Second point is that arrangement of anther and stigma at different positions. Obviously, if the position of anther is above the stigma, or you can say below the stigma, or there is distance between the anther and the stigma, then what can happen? It can avoid the self-pollination, release of pollen from the same flower, same anther to the stigma of the same flower, it can be avoided. But if there is distance between this anther and the stigma, it can what? Encourage or promote the cross-pollination, right? That only plants want. So that is why it is also one of the, what you can say, outbreeding devices. Next point is regarding self-incompatibility. Now compatible means what? Matching, right? So there should be incompatibility between the stigma and the pollen, right? If there is compatibility, then what can happen? Again, the pollen can release and it can land onto the stigma of the same flower, so which can result into what? Self-pollination, autogamy, but it needs to be avoided. So that is why there should be self-incompatibility, which is the genetic mechanism in order to prevent the self-pollen of the same flower or the other flower but on the same plant, right? So it can inhibit what? Pollen grain germination also, as well as pollen tube growth also. Whereas if there is self-incompatibility, it can result into what? Cross-pollination and avoid the self-pollination. So that is why it is also one of the point which is included under outbreeding devices, right? Next we will discuss about what? Fourth point is production of unisexual flowers. Now unisexual flowers, what do you mean by unisexual flowers? The flowers in which male and female reproductive organs are separated, right? So obviously if the male and female flowers are present on the same plant, if it is present on the same plant, what it is called as? If it is present on the same plant, it is also known as what? Monoecious. Fine. Male and female flowers are present on the same plant. Flowers are different, but plant is same. That condition is known as what? Monoecious, right? Whereas, for example, you can say castor, maize, these are the examples of monoecious plants. Secondly, what can happen? It can prevent the autogamy. Obviously, self-pollination can be prevented because flowers are different. Autogamy can take place in the same flower if it is bisexual, right? But these flowers are what? Unisexual. So if the flowers are unisexual, obviously it is also acting as outbreeding devices which will encourage the cross-pollination but inhibit the self-pollination. Correct? Fine. Next, it is also written that it prevents autogamy but not geitonogamy. Why so? Because in case of geitonogamy, flowers are different but plant is same, right? So genetically it is acting as what? Self-pollination only. So in this condition, genetogamy is not prevented as such because plant is same, right? But autogamy can be prevented because what? Flowers are different, right? But on the same plant. Fine. So that is why production of unisexual flowers could lead to what? Encouragement of cross-pollination and inhibition of self-pollination. Correct? Next point is in case of dioecious plant, right? Now what do you mean by dioecious plant? It is opposite to that of monoecious plant, obviously. So in case of what? Dioecious plants in which male and female flowers are present on the different plants, right? Are present on the different plants. So this is acting as what? Dioecious plant is such plant in which there is what? Different plants, fine, showing, one plant is showing male flowers, other plant is showing female flowers. So in that condition also it is what? Unisexual flower only, but plants are also different. It is a kind of, you can say what? Xenogamy type, right? In which flowers are different, plants are also different, right? So in which there is separate sexes, or you can say separate male and female reproductive organs are present on the different flowers and different plants, right? That is known as dioecious plants. For example, you can say papaya, in which male and female flowers are present on two different plants. So obviously it will encourage the which type of pollination? Cross pollination, and it is going to inhibit what? Which type of pollination? Self pollination. In that also there is one advantage. It can prevent both this autogamy as well as geitonogamy, because flowers are also different and plants are also different. So that is why it will inhibit what? Self-pollination in that both autogamy as well as geitonogamy, but it will encourage what? Cross-pollination. Correct? All the four devices are clear? Fine. Production of unisexual flowers, then arrangement of stamen, or you can say anther and stigma at different position, right? Then avoiding synchronization, then self-incompatibility, right? You need to remember all these 4 points in detail if the question is asked about outbreeding devices. So it is mainly for what purpose? In order to inhibit the self-pollination and encourage the cross-pollination, correct? Fine. So next topic is about what? Pollen-pistil interaction, right? As the topic name suggests, pollen pistil, fine. That means one part, that is pollen, is of the male reproductive organ, and pistil is female reproductive organ part, fine. So pollen, which is released from the anther, which is a part of androecium, and pistil, which is a part of gynoecium, right? So when the pollen grains are released from the anther and get landed onto the stigma of pistil, so obviously at that time there is interaction between these two parts, right? Which will lead to what? Fertilization. Obviously before that it will lead to the pollen grain germination as well as pollen tube growth, right? So in pollen pistil interaction, as you can see from this description, it is a process in which pistil recognizes, right? What? Pollen, obviously. Now this pollen could be what? Pollen could be compatible as well as it could be incompatible, right? Pollen can be compatible pollen grain, or you can say right type pollen grain, right? Or it can also be incompatible pollen grains. Now compatible pollen grain, so obviously this pistil is going to recognize, right? Stigma is going to recognize the pollen grain which are released from the anthers, and it will get interacted with each other, and it will form what? It will form the pollen germination also as well as pollen tube growth also. But what happens in case of incompatible pollen grains? If it is incompatible, the pistil, or you can say stigma, should what? Avoid the receptivity at that time. But if we are artificially, we need to hybridize, or you can say fertilize this pollen grain, incompatible pollen grain with the stigma or the pistil, at that time also pollen and pistil interaction could take place artificially, right? So that is why it is written that pistil recognizes compatible as well as incompatible pollen through some components, chemical components which are produced by them, so that it could get interacted with each other. That is nothing but pollen pistil interaction. Next point is regarding what? If the pollen grain is of compatible type pistil, what will it do? It will accept it. Obviously, if something is of right type, then other part will accept it only. Fine. So that is why this, if the pollen is of right type, or you can say compatible, it is matching with the correct type of the stigma, so pistil will accept it, and it will promote what? Further, or you can say further pollination events, right? This is pre-fertilization only, but after the pollen pistil get interacted, it will start producing what? Male gametes, right? Before that, pollen germination and pollen tube growth. After that, post-pollination events will occur. That is nothing but the fertilization process, which we will be discussing later on. Correct, right? Okay. Next, pollen grain germinates. This is the further steps that we have already discussed. What happens after the pollen and pistil gets interacted with each other? So at that time, pollen grain will start germinating on the stigma, right? It will start producing what? Pollen tube. In this diagram, you can observe pollen grain started germinating and it has formed what? Pollen tube, right? Here it is already written pollen tube. Fine. This diagram we have already discussed when we were studying about mature female gametophyte, right? Fine. So pollen germinates, pollen germination occurs as well as pollen tube growth occurs, right? Through which structure? Through one of the germ pores, that also we have discussed, where the sporopollenin was absent, right? Onto the structure of pollen grain. Through that region only, what will arise? Pollen tube, right? Next, contents of pollen grain. Obviously, contents which are present inside the pollen grain will move into the pollen tube. It will form the male gametes, right? And which will further participate during the fertilization process, right? Fine. Pollen tube grows through the tissues of stigma and style, reaches towards the ovary. Here you can see, right? Pollen grain has started germinating. It has formed the pollen tube. It gets entered towards the ovary, inside that ovule, fine, through the micropylar end towards the egg cell, right? Which we will be discussing when we will discuss about the fertilization process, right? Okay. Moving forward, here you can also observe some diagrams, right? Pollen grain germinating on the stigma, and secondly, pollen tube showing the growth through the style. Fine, we will be discussing it during the experimental procedure. Fine? Okay. Next is observe this another diagram, right? In which first diagram you can observe there is entry of tube into the synergid, right? Here you can observe there is entry of this particular pollen tube, right, towards the micropylar end, which is carrying male gametes, fine. Through it is moving through this filiform apparatus, guided towards the synergid and then towards the egg cell in order to fertilize it to form zygote, further embryo, right? So that ovule will convert into seed. Fine, that is the process of later on steps and all that we will be discussing later on. Second diagram shows the discharge of male gametes, right? There is discharge of male gametes into the synergids so that it can move towards the egg cell, same to produce the zygote, right? Next point you can also see is that pollen is incompatible. If the pollen grain is incompatible or wrong type, what can happen? Pistil will reject it. Obviously, pistil is going to reject the pollen grains by preventing pollen germination. If the pistil reject the pollen grains, what will happen? Pollen grain is going to get germinated, yes or no? Obviously not, right? Pollen tube is going to show the growth, obviously not, fine. So this point also you need to remember. Next, in plants which shed the pollen grains at two-celled condition, that also we have discussed, right? In such condition, vegetative and generative cell, the generative cell is going to divide mitotically to form two male gametes in the pollen tube, right? So this point we have already discussed. Fine. Moving forward, next point, in case of the pollen grains which is shed at three-celled stage, that is what? The pollen grain is carrying the male gamete from the beginning. Okay, from the beginning it is carrying the two male gametes in case of two-celled stage. After the formation of pollen germination and pollen growth, right? Or you can say pollen tube growth. In that, 2 male gametes have been formed, right? But in case of 3-celled condition, pollen tubes carry the 2 male gametes from the beginning or from the start point, right? Next, pollen tube reaches the ovary, enters the ovule through the micropylar end, enters one of the synergids through what? Filiform apparatus, and guided towards the egg cell, right? Okay. Now, one point which you need to remember here is that a plant breeder, okay, the one who having expertise in breeding between the plants. Okay, so a plant breeder can manipulate the pollen pistil interaction. It can manipulate, it can modify, right, pollen pistil interaction even in case of incompatible type of pollen grains, where it should reject the pollen grains. Okay, what pistil should reject the pollen grain. But in case if the plant breeder needs to manipulate this interaction, it could also identify or recognize the incompatible pollen grain and interact with even the incompatible pollen grain to form the to get the desired hybrid. Okay, so this is exception point which you need to remember. Otherwise, pistil only recognizes compatible pollen grains. But if we need to what? Artificially, we want desired hybrids. In that condition, what can happen? In case of incompatible pollen grains also, the pistil could able to recognize this what? Recognize this pollen grain, okay, which is of incompatible type. Fine. In this diagram also you can observe, right, pollen grain has been landed onto the stigma. Pollen grain has started to form the growth of pollen tube. It gets entry inside the ovary in that ovule. Fine. So let's stop with this topic. Okay, next topic we are going to discuss in next lecture. Fine. Thank you.